Hi everybody, Miles Yim here for ESPN Esports. Today we're going through the top 5 of this week's Overwatch Power Rankings. At number 5 are the Chengdu Hunters. They move into the 5 spot mostly by virtue of their 4-0 victory over the New York Excelsior. It was quite the one-sided stop that actually says a little bit more about the Excelsior than it does about Chengdu. Chengdu has been the kind of unstable yet stable team that a lot of us who watch the Overwatch League have had our eye on. Is the meta finally going to favor their hipster DPS compositions? And signs point to yes. You have incredible players at the DPS role like Bacon Jack, Jinmu, and Yang Xiaolong, who really showcased everything the team had to offer in the NYXL series. I expect great things from them, especially in their upcoming matches against another Chinese team, Hangzhou Spark. And then in week 4, you get to see them against the San Francisco Shock, which should be an absolute barn burner between two top 5 teams. So lots to look forward to for Chengdu. At number 4, we have the LA Gladiators, who move up from the sort of bottom half of our top 10 rankings into the 4th spot by virtue of, again, the meta sort of favoring them. This is a team that really wanted to exploit the fact that they had 2 excellent DPS players in Surefour and Decay, who make a really great buddy comedy, if I'm honest. This is a 24-year-old Canadian and 18-year-old South Korean who are essentially locked into the 2 DPS slots that LA Gladiators are allowed. When you look at a lot of teams who are trying to adopt their lineups to the 2-2 lock, there's a lot of rotation in the DPS points, and there really isn't that sort of decision-making going on with LA Gladiators. They have their 2 that they want to play. So now you get to see those players moved off the tanks that they were forced to play during 3-3 and now are able to indeed show their quality going forward. Their match against the San Francisco Shock was very close. It went 5 games. And I think my one note for the Gladiators would be to maybe find another map they're good at besides Hybrid. I think Escort is a good style for them to try and create space for their DPS and really let those players shine. They have won 3 out of the 4 Hybrid maps that they have played this year, excelling primarily on Hollywood, and then have dropped one of their 4, all but one of their 4 Escort maps. So a bit of room for improvement for the Gladiators, but really great that we have an LA team in the top 5. At number 3, we have the Guangzhou Charge. They move up from, I believe, number 5 to number 3, if I'm remembering that right. Anyway, they move up in our power rankings mostly by the same reason that Chengdu does. And for a long time, we've been looking at Guangzhou Charge as sort of a budget Chengdu, in which they want to play the same kind of odd comps, but they don't do it as well. Of all the teams in the Overwatch League, it was Guangzhou who made the most movement in the small offseason between Stage 3 and 4, getting Froggy and Bishu 2 tanks from other teams and now bringing them on. They're not really going to be starting. I believe that the team brought them in mostly for their veteran presence because the tank line is sort of set with Hotba and Ryu at this point. Rio, I should say. But looking forward to their continued rise and becoming more than a good luck charm for good teams. One odd stat from the Guangzhou Charge's first 3 stages as an Overwatch League team is that they played twice the teams that won each stage. So when Vancouver won the stage, they played them twice. Same thing for the Shock, same thing for the Shanghai Dragon. They don't play anybody twice this stage, so I guess the Stage 4 championship is anybody's to take. At number 2, we have the London Spitfire, who are finally rounding into form and giving, and now we can see what kind of attention we have for their expert DPS players. You have Gesture, you have Birdring, and you have Prophet. That holy trinity forms the backbone of a team that, despite their 3-0 loss, or 0-3 loss to the Florida Mayhem, which kind of botched the narrative a little bit, doesn't really give me pause. And it's here that I want to, spend a little time to talk about how we are seeing a lot of teams in the Overwatch League who are benefiting from the 2-2-2 lock that are already eliminated from playoffs and yet are unable to do anything about their season playoff chances after playing themselves out. Florida Mayhem is one. The Washington Justice, who 4-0'd Vancouver this week, is another. So one really wonders what the season could have been like had the 2-2 lock started at stage 1, or had we gone the whole year in the 3-3 meta. What teams will finally be able to contend for that year-end championship? How good are some of these teams really? It's a real shame that, we'll never know. At the top of our ranking is the San Francisco Shock, and really surprising nobody. They were number 2 last week, and because Vancouver, of course, as I said before, fell to the Washington Justice, they move up to number 1. And they do so not just because they're playing well, but because they have, among all the Overwatch teams, probably the most amount of depth, and not just like depth of okay players, depth of really good players, really good tank line, really good DPS players that will serve them well in adapting to any other meta. You saw San Francisco Shock really excel in the 3-3 meta. They're going to excel in the 2-2-2 meta as well because of players like Architect, like Striker, and rotating them with Rascal of those 3 DPS. It is a team that is built to combat any sort of meta they come across. And until they show otherwise, I think they're going to be a pretty constant presence in our number 1 spot. And for more on the league, and for more on the Overwatch League rankings, please continue to read the article below here at espn.com/esports.